are you?
Okay. Well, it being 5:31, November 18th, we will call the meeting of the Shelburne Select Board to order. I'll ask all those on to please mute their microphones, other than Andrew and Terry, obviously. And we shall begin with the acceptance of minutes from the November 4th meeting. Those were sent around. Tricia's changes were made. Any other changes were made. I've reviewed them. Have no concerns, Andrew?
I don't have concerns with the writing of the minutes. No, I just wanted to check in on a few of the items that we discussed, just follow-up information. But
Go
we
ahead.
can, well, I will move that we accept the minutes.
As amended by Tricia
Yeah.
changes. I will second the motion, and it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to check, Terry, there was a discussion we had about signs on Route 2. Did we follow up with the building inspector?
I met with the building inspector when the first complaint came in, and I asked him to write letters to those businesses on the trail.
Okay. I just noticed more signs on the trail. It just twigged me to wonder what happened there.
I'll
Um,
send out another email to him reminding him of our conversation.
okay. Yeah, I just wanted to be fair to Ozma's Kitchen uh, since I personally delivered the bad news to them that we should make that across the board. Um,
Good.
The other note I had was about Tricia's First Amendment workshop. I did speak with Jeff about that, and he will follow up as he deems fit. Um, but it did also twig me to a suggestion that I had for you, Rick, since you're our police liaison in relation to signs. And we got a lot of upset residents commenting on the signs posted in the triangle right next to the police land. And a lot of people don't know that that's private land. And so my suggestion is that next campaign season, the police either put a little fence along their line to delineate their property, or maybe just a piece of police tape during the season, just to kind of make it clear to people that this is not part of the town, you know? Um, anyway, something we can address down the road. But I just thought I would throw that in the pot. Um, and And on the CPA issue that we discussed about the funding the three buckets and needing a special town meeting, I went back and looked at the warrant articles that we passed, and we actually did pass a warrant article creating those three buckets and I believe allocating the minimum distributions to them. So I thought we had covered that ground.
We did,
Actually, that is for fiscal year 25 that we did that. The report that she's writing is for fiscal year 24, and we did not do that because it was so new. So there is some money in those buckets, as you described them, for from the first half roughly, or the first collections of fiscal year 25. But all of the money from fiscal 24 is still in a pot that needs to be divvied in.
Oh, okay. All right. I just thought that the creation of those buckets would just sort of make that happen, but maybe not.
Yeah. Apparently,
Anyway, all
Gretchen.
right. Well, I'll leave that where it is, and I think we addressed it at the last meeting, so I have no complaints about that. That's all I had about the minutes, just notes that as I was reading.
Okay. There being no further discussion and a motion on the table, all those in favor to accept the minutes, say aye. Andrew?
Aye.
And I am aye as well. The motion passes to 0. Liaison reports. We've got 10 minutes before our first appointment. Andrew, fire away.
Sure, I have two. I did meet with the Pratt committee, and we have a new member, so we went over some old ground, just bringing her up to speed, and we spent most of the meeting actually discussing the lease document, which the Arms Board may bring forward for amendment or dissolution or whatever. We had tried that before and had some discussion. The issue that seems to be remaining is the question of how the wording around maintenance is worded in the lease. And in the process of that discussion, it was stated or alleged that there is some maintenance spending that sort of goes on off budget, just with the library director contacting Terry and saying, we need to get this done, and can the highway department help with that? And it struck me that we need to somehow this ties in with the larger question of building maintenance that we talked about at the last meeting, and I've talked about with Jeff. And we are getting the highway department involved in. But it seems to me that it would be helpful to get a clearer picture of what the maintenance needs are of these buildings, both for the highway department's sake, so that they can create a little mini job description for the staff person, but also so that we're actually accurately budgeting that and can then have a discussion with Buckland about whether they should have a role in paying for maintenance expenses, which I kind of think they should. Because the muddy feet of Buckland residents are just as muddy as the Shelburne residents. And the library needs to clean up after all of its patrons. Um, and I use that just as a general statement about maintenance or an illustration. So anyway, that conversation is ongoing, and but it is something that we will address again at budget time, and hopefully kind of come to some approaches for with our new uh, building maintenance um, help coming from the highway department. So that's the Pratt. Um, the highway department, I met with Jeff this morning as well as a week ago. Old Greenfield Road is still finished and just awaiting a estimate on the cost of the guardrails. So we will move forward to completion on that, assuming we get an estimate that we have money to pay for. We have about $100,000 left in the Mass Works grant. Um, and so more on that. The line painting will wait till the spring. Um, and Jeff is talking with Joe Fink, or will be, on the building maintenance issue, and I've asked him to contact Terry and Greg and John Walsh and start gathering a little inventory of maintenance needs so that we can kind of design a checklist for that position. Um, he's got a message board up near the transfer station about winter hours, starting December 3rd. Tuesdays will still be open 10 to 4, so that's not a change, is it, Terry? That's just continuing the same hours. Um, they're doing fire extinguisher inspection. The Franklin Tech School is doing some landscaping for fall cleanup at the Hill Cemetery. Jim Richardson is doing tree work starting on South Shelburne Road. Um, and Jeff has sent an emergency declaration for the temporary bridge for Norm Davenport's signature, since the Concom is not meeting soon. So that will get us started, though CD Davenport, which won the bid, is not going to be able to start until after Thanksgiving. So that's the update on the bridge. And The Chevy 1-ton truck is has had a lot of repairs and has a nearly $10,000 fuel system repair bill. Um, and I think that's about it for the highway department.
Very good. We've got a few minutes left. I'll mention that the Franklin Regional Transportation Board meeting is happening the end of this week, so I have nothing to report from that. Police Department and Police Services, we have one item on that coming up in a few minutes, so I'll pass over that. Terry, the chief, and myself met with the representative Jennifer Thompson on the Capital from Capital Strategic Solutions. They are the company in Hudson, Mass. That we've contracted to do the wage and classification study for the police department. Kind of went over general questions. What are we looking for? What are their processes and who? It was very reassuring to hear that I think they said all, but if not all, almost all of the people in their company are former municipal employees. So they have a good handle on all facets from police to fire to administrative. So it was I personally got a good feeling about the company that we chose, even more so after speaking with them directly. Um, I'll remind folks that this process is being paid for by a community compact program grant that Terry, our town administrator, secured for us. No one knew existed, but she found it and did it. So thank you for that. I signed the contract on November 5th, and we met. That meeting I just referred to was held on the 6th. So things are off and running on that. In the Police Services Advisory Committee, we met last week also. The discussions were an overview of the wage and classification study, an update on the status, more discussion on Mohawk Trail Regional School Student Resource Officer. Details are still in the works on that between the school and the police department. A brief discussion on capital items coming up in the budget this year for fiscal year 26. Some we've mentioned, which previously were vests that are expiring. The 2014 Cruiser that is in the plan to be replaced, etc. But it's all a temporary in the process, in the works budget at the moment, and it is not fully fleshed out. One of the things interesting is the possibility of a landscaping project for the property of the police station. And the chief is reaching out to the Franklin County Technical School to see what might be able to work along that line and may address a concern you mentioned earlier, Andrew. And let's see, I think that's all there. Got one more minute. I'll be real quick. We had at our last actually, I don't know if it came up at the last meeting or after through email, but we were invited by the Mohawk Trail Regional School District Personnel Subcommittee to join them on November 13th. All towns, all 9 member towns were invited to have the chairs of the town select board or their designee to, from themselves, choose from amongst themselves one person to represent the towns in the collective bargaining sessions coming up for the district's paraprofessionals. So it ended up I was the one available with the time to go, so I did. Interestingly, 8 towns didn't show. Shelburne, me, the only one who showed. I said, well, I was hoping to observe and learn more about the process because I had seen the same thing at the tech school. And I asked what would happen if I didn't accept the position to be on that subcommittee. Would you, reschedule another meeting and look at it? And they said, no, we would proceed without a representative to the towns. So I agreed to represent the 9 towns of the district in that negotiating subcommittee. And that's all I have on liaison reports, and we're a minute past due. So let's get to Detective Tucker Jenkins regarding a Stuff the Cruiser event for December 15th. Tucker, you have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so just briefly, just kind of an FYI for you guys, we're doing a hopefully annual, but at least this year, Stuff a Cruiser event. So this is pretty common in different municipalities across Massachusetts and quite frankly, probably across the US. But essentially what it is it's a toy drive, and we usually partner with a nonprofit agency. And essentially what happens is folks bring donations of unwrapped new toys, and we literally fill the police cruiser. So what's going to happen is on December 15th, which is a Sunday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., we will be kind of congregating and running this event. I can't take full credit for it. We actually had a resident of the town of Shelburne kind of bring this to our attention back probably about a month ago. She was wondering if we would be interested in doing something like this. I kind of took the ball, ran with it, reached out to Heather Taylor, who runs the nonprofit Giving Back Together Toy Drive. She was ecstatic to do this. She's partnered with a lot of other agencies to do this. So I reached out to her. We kind of got the ball rolling, kind of created an event. The original plan was to do it kind of like either at Buckland Shelburne Elementary School or Mohawk Trail Regional High School, where we'd have a large space to do it. After kind of speaking and wanting to partner with a lot of our local businesses, especially around the holiday season, they had suggested that we do it downtown, essentially, right by Foxtown there where the Pocket Park is. So these businesses can kind of pitch in, be around, have folks kind of lingering around. So it's kind of like a little 2-for-1. You're gonna have a lot of people around. We're gonna have a visit for the whole duration from Santa Claus will be there. Smokey the Bear will be there. Both our fire departments have offered their services to just kind of hang out, meet and greet. I'm working with a few local churches right now to do like hot chocolate and stuff like that. And kind of the last, one of the last pieces is I'm meeting on Friday with the Children's Advocacy Center. And they want to have some sort of helping hands involvement with this. State police is also going to be on hand. They're not going to provide a cruiser. However, they're going to help essentially fill a town of Shelburne cruiser. And also that nonprofit will be there. So we'll be there. We also have a resident of the town of Coleraine who is going to provide some holiday music throughout the event, very late. And he's excited to do that. So we have a lot of good volunteers volunteering their time to do this. We're really looking forward to it. I've had Heather reaching out to me pretty often, excited to kind of publicize this event, and a lot of the local businesses are. So essentially, that's the plan. Like I said, it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday, December 15th. The goal is tomorrow we're going to start getting flyers out, putting it on our Facebook page and social media, and hopefully we have a really good turnout. We're really looking to try to make this a regular event.
Um, unless I missed you saying it earlier, I don't think we said what we're stuffing the cruiser with. This is to gather donations of toys for children in need. If you said that, I'm sorry.
Yep. So yeah, it's new unwrapped toys. So it's yep. So basically people will bring new unwrapped toys. A lot of times what will happen is we'll fill kind of like the rear compartments of the cruisers. That's kind of the typical process for it. Hopefully, if we have an overflow, we just kind of stack it outside the cruiser. And then at that point, we connect with Heather and load everything up. And then they have a distribution day, which I believe is the following weekend. And that part is above my pay grade. I haven't a clue what they do, but I know I've seen the pictures on social media. So then they distribute it to all the folks and go from there.
Tucker, I'm sorry. I'm spacing out a little bit. Tell me again the hours of this event on December 6th.
No problem. It's 11 a.m. and we're gonna wrap up at 2 p.m. So
11,
hours right in the middle of the
11
day.
a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yep.
Okay, great. And I assume you're putting this out to your media list.
Oh yeah.
Good.
I reached out to the Greenfield Recorder. I think it was Friday, Thursday or Friday, to hopefully get some press in the recorder. We'll be putting it on our Facebook page, our Instagram. The Children's Advocacy Center has agreed to post it. State Police is going to send it out widely since we're kind of partnering with them as well. And then Heather Taylor in the Giving Back Together toy drive actually literally emailed me this morning or excuse me, last night at 6 p.m. Ready to blast it all out. So.
Great. One other news organ that you didn't mention that I'll mention to you in case you don't have them on your list is the Two Town News, which is Shelburne and Buckland's free monthly newsletter that now has 800 plus subscribers. Most of them from, well, about 700 of them from Shelburne and Buckland. So if you want to reach those folks, shellbucknews@gmail.com is your spot. And we're in a little bit of, normally you'd be within our deadline for monthly collection of news items, but Trisha had put November 15th this month. But if you send this to that address, she may be able to squeeze you in.
I will send it over momentarily.
All right.
That would be great. Thank you very much. And
No
thanks for
problem.
taking lead on that, Tucker.
Not a problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks.
Do we need a motion to approve anything, or is it just informational?
I thought it was informational, Terry. Just information.
Okay,
Great.
good. Thanks, Tucker.
No problem, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Night. We have a couple of minutes before our next appointment. Terry, did you have anything from Town Hall of note as far as the liaison information that Tricia may have supplied or?
No, I have nothing this evening.
Okay, terrific.
If I may, Tom Williams here. Tricia did give me a bunch of information to pass on, and especially in case anybody had any questions regarding the statement of interest for the grant that we're looking to get.
That's way down on our agenda, so
Okay,
if we have a question, we'll call on you.
Roger that.
Perfect. Okay. I don't want to start too soon because there was talk of how many people may be responding to the 6 p.m. Hearing. ARPA funds requests. Anything of interest that needs to be discussed on that this evening?
Nothing new to report for this week's meeting.
Okay. We have 30,335 set aside for the Village Information Center, foundation siding and painting. I think, actually, I'm sorry. We have 13,550, sorry, set aside for those repairs, which leaves us, I believe, $30,335, give or take, in that fund. With no other commitments at the moment.
Well, that's not true, Rick. We have several items earmarked in that list there,
You mean
including the pocket park.
They just haven't been voted on yet, Andrew.
Oh no! Oh, I thought you meant there was nothing in the queue.
We don't have anything before us at the moment. Is that a better way to word it? These, there was a suggestion of the AED unit, possible storage at the Cowell, and the pocket park.
Okay. Yeah.
We have 335 left. I think perhaps next week, I'm sorry, next meeting, we have a full board on hand. We should deal with that.
Good.
Rick, just a clarification. We have $43,885 left.
So the 43,885 is after
That includes what we've earmarked for the Visitors Information Center.
Terrific, terrific. Thank you for correcting
You're
me.
welcome.
Super. Very good. Should be an easy one. We have the solar array installation notation that it's simply completed. Do you know if it's been made live, or are we waiting for Eversource to?
It has yet to be made live. We did get final inspection. We had a meeting last week, Jeff Bettner, myself, and Angel with PV Squared, and did the preliminary registration for the rebates that the town will be entitled to. So it's definitely moving forward in a good direction.
Terrific. Okay, we're close enough here to our 6 o'clock appointment. Is there anyone? It looks like we have
I think we're still waiting on 2 people.
on 2. Okay.
Yes.
Let's jump down to new business, item B. We have a recommendation from the planning board to fill the vacancy. They have 1 slot that's vacant. It's an elected position, but we can fill it for the remainder of the unexpired term. And Susan Durkee has stepped forward and has the recommendation of the planning board. Her letter of interest, November 13th, is in your packet, Andrew. Any suggestion? Would you like to make a motion to approve or discuss, or?
I read her letter and she sounds interested and has some good background. And so, yes, I'm prepared to offer a motion to appoint her to the planning board.
And I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Andrew?
Aye.
And I am aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Well, I don't see any easy pickings here for a couple minutes, and if we're waiting for.
We should be all set in 1 second.
Great.
I think we're good to go.
Okay, it being 5:58, we'll open the hearing, the dog nuisance hearing. We have a representative from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office to take the floor. That would be
Kyle.
Kyle?
Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So nuisance request hearing at the request of Geneva of Shelburne Corin Road. This is a resident request. My agency facilitated the getting it scheduled. However, this is at the request of the resident, so I will turn over to the resident so you can hear her complaint, and I believe the dog owner is on the Zoom as well, so you guys will be able to hear from him as well.
Okay. And Virginia, or Jenny, as I think you prefer, you are here.
Yes. Hi.
There you are.
Yeah, Jenna.
Sienna, gotcha.
Yeah, and another neighbor, Chris Van Vliet, might be present too at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've lived on Coleraine Shelburne Road since 2021, and Gordon's had 2 dogs during that time, one at a time, and each one of them has run on my land. Gordon doesn't live on the abutting property. He owns that property and he comes and stays on it. And when he's staying there, his dogs run unattended on my land. and he's never asked my permission for that. But until this summer, I haven't forbidden it. I didn't like it, but I tolerated it. But my previous dog died, and the dog I have now has a lot of issues with it. And this summer, I went out at one point to talk with Gordon about something. Uh, my dog is a rescue. She's half Great Pyrenees. It's a guardian breed. Gordon's dog comes onto my property. She gets very agitated. Um, there's kind of a territorial relationship that goes on. Gordon's dog tends to use the area right around my house as a toilet. I think it's marking territory. So when I went out to talk with Gordon and Gordon's dog came out, my dog pulled me down. She was so agitated by Gordon's dog. And I realized that it was unsafe to allow this dog to continue to come onto my property at any time. I never knew when. And it would just appear out of nowhere. So I asked Gordon on July 21st to keep his dog off my property, and he wouldn't commit to that. So after warning him, I called the dog officer. And then I sent him a certified letter explaining to him that about the physical safety issue. And the next time he was at his property, which was a couple of days after his receiving the certified letter, 2 dogs came onto my property. And so I called the dog officer again. And since that time, at a time when my neighbor saw Gordon was on his property, that a dog, I believe was the second dog, was seen on my property. I have pictures on my phone of the 2 dogs coming onto my property and the second dog coming onto the property. Now, there's so I just feel like, unfortunately, at this time, I can't allow this to continue. And I need your help in there being consequences when these dogs come onto my property.
Okay. Excuse me. Thank you for that overview. I do have the complaints that were filed and the response. One of them appears, it's a little vague, but it appears to be the report that the investigating individual spoke to you, Mr. Meadows, and asked, advised you of the leash law and asked that you keep your dog leashed. And it states here that you are opposed to that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Why would you be opposed to adhering to local laws?
So I'm not at all. In fact, I support adhering to local laws. I think that we have a bit of a conflict in some local laws here. I share an 800-foot border with Jinnah. It's it's the middle of a meadow. This meadow was historically a farm. It was a farm until the late 1990s when it was divided up into a bunch of building lots. And I am the sole person who is continuing to farm this land, who lives in this area. The thing that I farm is apple trees, and I'm doing a lot of research on climate resilient apple rootstock strains. And the primary predator that destroys my crop and my trees, and I've lost over 300 since starting my work here. The primary predator is voles and rabbits. And my dog is an integral part of my farm in working on rodent control. I need my dog to be able to be free. So I am opposed to leashing my dog because of my right to farm is being, I believe, infringed upon.
So you are running
the
a
demand
business.
that my dog be chained. Now, furthermore, I was happy to build a fence. I offered to build a fence. I offered that to Jenna right when she complained. And she demanded that I get a survey of my land done. And because of the work that was done to the highway that runs along my property, the survey marker for our corner up by the road was buried, and it took the surveyor 3 visits to my land to find the corner. That corner was only found about a month ago, and our line was marked by a surveyor. And the delay between July and now for my resolving the issue has just been an issue of waiting for this survey to be complete so that I could follow Jenna's request that there be a survey done before a fence was erected. So the survey was done. I started working on the fence on Thursday. I have completed the section of the fence that runs along the front portion of my border with Jenna, up to the road and down to the marsh. And I'm currently working on the back section. I will be done with it in a couple days. I am hopeful that that will resolve the problem to this committee's satisfaction. I am not trying to refuse to follow the law. I'm trying to find an accommodation that allows my dog to do its job on my farm and still doesn't infringe upon Jenna's right to be on her property and feel safe. I don't want to infringe upon Jenna at all. And I am deeply sorry that she feels scared of my dog. I think that it's important for this board to understand what happened in the triggering event that led to Jenna's complaints and feeling unsafe. I mowed a section of the thicket behind in the back side of my property along my property line with Jenna. I'm using a tractor. It's got a 4-foot brush hog on it. And I did my very best to start at the property marker and go down the hill along that line. And I offered to mow down the invasive thicket on Jenna's side if she would like me to. And when I offered to do that, she came out to the back to take a look at it. And instead of talking about whether or not she would like me to mow down the thicket on her side, she attacked me, claiming that I had damaged her property because I had mowed along our property line. And she yelled at me because I was planting raspberries along that rear line. So I have a neighbor who has absolutely no respect for my right to grow crops on my land where I believe that I should. And her refusal to allow me to put up a fence is what caused the delay and the further encroachments of my dog. My dog spends most of her day lying next to my truck or hunting. She occasionally wanders out into the field, which is Jenna's. She doesn't know better, and I'm sorry that I'm infringing on Jenna's yard, but I am trying to resolve that. And Jenna, when she came to talk to me about mowing in the back, was so threatening towards me that her dog started to growl at me. And my dog, who never crossed onto her property during that incident, my dog came up from behind me to see what was going on and why her dog was growling at me. And her dog charged across our property line, dragging Jenna by the leash on her face across the ground for probably 15 or 20 feet. And it was horrifying. And I had to run over and grab the leash of Jenna's dog to stop it from continuing to drag her on her face. And so to me, that really demonstrates that Jenna has no capability to control her own animal. And while my dog may have crossed across this line, my accuser is someone who isn't physically capable of controlling her large, aggressive dog, which is a dog that's intended to be a livestock guardian animal, and is extremely territorial. So I think that it's important for this committee to understand that I have a neighbor who's been threatening towards me and whose dog has threatened my animal and who is threatening my right to farm my land how I see fit. And I honestly find it outrageous in a community like Shelburne that you would allow someone who has no idea what farming is like to attack a farmer like this. I am not trying to be a nuisance. I'm trying to be responsible on my land. My last dog killed a bunch of Chris's chickens, and that was horrible. And I am deeply sorry about that. And I wrote an apology letter to his son and wrote him a check. And I am
You have either frozen or are frozen. One or the
very
other.
sorry about Chris's. Although so that's what I have to say.
Okay. All right. Kyle, you've heard this, you've seen the reports. Any comment, thoughts?
Only to the fact that if Mr. Meadows' dog is staying on his property, then unless the board so orders it restrained, it does not need to be restrained with a physical leash. If there is indeed a fence going up and the fence is being completed in the next few days, then in my opinion, I believe that should rectify the dog going over onto the neighbor's property.
May I say something?
Let's let him finish.
Okay.
But then those would be my thoughts on it. But I'd be curious to see where the complainant stands on it.
Okay. Good fences make good neighbors, they say. So that would be the best hope, I guess, that a proper fence would stop allowing Mr. Meadows' dog to inappropriately go on another person's property without permission. That needs to stop for sure, one way or the other. No one's against farming, no one's against berries, but we all have to play by the rules. Before I get back to you, Jenna, would Chris, another abutter, care to say anything?
So there we go. Can you hear me there?
Yes.
Yes.
Jenna had voiced her concerns to me as well. I guess my take on it, and as Gordon did mention, is historical events that had occurred. His first dog, as he mentioned, it was before I put up a fence to stop the dog from coming over. We didn't know that it was his dog that was killing our chickens when it first happened. They just disappeared until we did finally see it actually happen. It was an elderly dog that I guess that was the habit that he would do. And I had reported that early on, but what I did to stop it was I put a fence up between Gordon and I, and soon after that, a year or two, that dog passed. Gordon had then got the dog he currently has around in late 2021, I believe. That dog, when it first and when it was young, when it first there, it leapt the fence like it wasn't even there. Leaped over the fence, ran, chased the chickens, and then would jump back as a game a time or two. But I talked to him about it, and he'd done pretty well. And then there was a time that the dog jumped and just ran, got into where my chicken coop area was, and was just running around and around and around chasing. And I was doing everything I could to yell and stop and chase the dog myself. Finally got it into my vehicle and took it back to him. And I had reported then that incident to animal control. And I believe it was Kyle that had come over and talked to Gordon, give a warning on that kind of thing. And I asked if there was any recourse I had for that kind of thing. And he said, yes, you do as a homeowner in the area. You can take a lethal one if you feel you need to, but I didn't want to have to go that far. But the nice thing is, in the past, since then, basically, past about 3 years, it seems that Gordon has done a pretty good job training his dog not to jump the fence. The dog has actually been contained for the most part, although Jenna did mention there was a second dog. There was another German Shepherd very much looking like Gordon's dog that comes to visit, and that one leaps the fence like it's not there, not there at all. So thankfully it leapt back and I didn't have any issues. But yes, that's what I did want to say is in time, the fence seems to be helping with the job. My issue also was my own dogs. I wasn't sure because they would wander, as dogs do, because they would smell different smells when coming out of the south and would go over and try to sniff around at what's going on in there. And so I didn't want to have my dogs getting into anything on his property, whether it be a trash can or who knows what. So that was also part of my putting the fence up, is I didn't want to have my dogs entering in the property.
Okay, thank you.
So that's basically it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jenna.
First of all, I'd like to ask Chris, you happened to see me right after that interaction between Gordon and me in the meadow where he described me being dragged across the grass. Did you see any abrasions on my face?
Oh, no. I mean, I did hear, I was outside with doing work, and I heard Gordon yelling at you, and I heard you replying, loudly replying back, yelling back. The tractor had been shut off that was out there, but I mean, I was, that's a couple hundred yards away, and I could hear the two of you, and I was taken back actually that he would be have that be yelling at you. I mean, I can hear it from the wind would, take the sound here and there, but when I did hear it, I was just very surprised at how that conversation was going, and he was being very rude to a person who you were just trying to restate that there is no pins that officially mark the line between the two of you, and so you were very cautious on wanting where the line was. You did want to have a survey done if before a fence was put up.
I think we've got a pretty good overview of the big picture here. Apparently, there has been a survey. The line is now defined.
I don't know that there has been a survey.
There has not been a survey. There is no pins with there might be some sticks in the ground, and there's marker tape hung on some brush, but there's no official pins and survey map that's been created.
That's actually untrue. The surveyor found the original pin up in the front corner on my corner. My surveyor did, and the original pin in the rear is there at the back corner of my land of Gina. They're both there, and the surveyor flagged it in 5 or 6 spots going down the line using his geospatial telemetry.
Okay. Well,
So
we're not here to settle a borders dispute. We're here to settle a dog dispute.
Yeah.
So let's focus on that.
Well, then,
Obviously, Gordon, you've stated that you have no intention to leash your dog, keep it off our property as is required. I think you're making a positive effort in offering to put up an appropriate fence, and you guys can work that out amongst yourselves. Andrew, did you have any questions or comments?
Just a question for Kyle. It seemed to me that the solution that's underway, which is to put up a fence, that would normally be a recommendation that you would make as kind of a next step solution in this case. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's also a solution the board could adopt, if they were to find Mr. Meadows' dog is a nuisance. They could require him to construct the fence. It does sound like that fence is already underway, so that will be the board's purview if they wish to make that a formal requirement or not.
Yeah, I guess my inclination, and I'm hearing in maybe I'm interpreting Rick's commentary as heading in that direction of let's let the fence continue and and see if that's an effective solution. That's kind of where I am.
I think we also have the option of imposing fines if this problem does not stop, which we certainly will consider. I don't think at this point we would do that if you're sincere in controlling the dog and putting up a fence that does that, and you follow through, then the dog stays on your property and stays off of Chris's and Jenna's, then there is no problem. If it does continue, we will take further action and either require a fence and impose fines, etc. Jenna, one more comment?
well, I just have two concerns. One is there are two dogs involved. So is this going to be covering both dogs? And the other is, don't forget that this fence may be going up on my land.
That's not our, that's
Yeah,
not our,
but if you're asking him to put up the fence, I may have
We're
to
not asking him
ask
to put up the
him.
fence.
we're not
We have
asking.
not required that, Jenna, because the fence is already underway.
Yes, but if you're saying the solution to the dog problem is his putting up the fence, I may have to ask him to take that fence. I am waiting for a surveyor to actually survey the property so we can. I never asked him not to put a fence up. That's not actually true. I never asked him to not put a fence up, but he's putting the fence up in a place where it may be on my property. So I may have to ask him to take the fence down.
With all
So
due respect, there's nothing we can do about you two having a border dispute.
I know, but I'm just saying that it may not be a solution to the problem if I have to ask him to take the fence down.
The solution to the
but
problem,
the fence is made with T-posts. They can be pulled out of the ground just as easily as they're put in the ground. I have had a surveyor there 3 times now and had it flagged. If Jenna would like to pay for her own surveyor to go out and that surveyor finds it to be a problem, I would not take the fence down. I would simply move it back onto my property. I've made every effort to make sure that it is not on Jenna's property. But I think that her complaints here illustrate what I have been dealing with in someone who is trying to thwart the solution while voicing the problem. It's very challenging.
I think we've got to a point where all sides have been heard. I think there is the situation is at hand is to control the dog. You understand that that is your responsibility. You're taking steps. You're telling us you're going to complete that step. And beyond that, with border, you guys can take care of it yourselves. However, I don't think we want to, at this point, require the fence, and I don't think we want to issue any fines. We've had the hearing, we've heard both sides, and as I say, if the issues continue and the complaints continue to be filed, we'll take further action appropriately.
Thank you.
Andrew, I'm sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
So just for a point of clarification, is the board taking a vote to dismiss this complaint at this time and not find the dog as a nuisance or dangerous at this time?
Question.
Andrew.
Kyle, can we just sort of continue the process until we are satisfied that the fence is in place and that the neighbors have reached some understanding about the general behavior of the
That's kind of
dogs?
where I was going with that. Mr. Meadows has made a mention that if I heard correctly, probably by the end of the week, the fence will be completed as long as this timeline continues. Do we want an option I think the board could consider would be a potential continuance until their next meeting? And then we can all come back and ensure that the fence has been completed. And if it has not, then at that point in time, the board could look at other options.
Sounds more than fair.
I'm happy to go in that direction. I think just my sense is that the fencing issue on the other side of the property between Mr. Meadows and Chris, I'm sorry, Chris, I don't have your last name. Seems like you have negotiated not just a fence, but some you know training and forbearance during the training process to hopefully keep the dogs on the right side of the fence. And, that would be my hope that the similar process could unfold on the fencing going on the other side of the property, that you put up a fence, see if it works, and work on some training with the dog or both dogs to, keep them on the right side of their fences. And that we can, if there's a problem in the future that the dogs are not staying within their fenced area, that we can bring this back and look at it again.
Terry, do we need a vote to continue this to our next meeting, or can we just declare it so that we will resume, table it at the moment and resume at our next meeting to have an update on whether the fence was completed as promised?
You certainly can vote to continue the hearing. Yes.
Okay.
May
One last comment, Gordon.
Pardon me. May I request that I'm allowed to send in photographs of the fence as evidence to somebody so as not to have to be present for the next hearing?
I think that could be acceptable. Either that or you could meet with either myself or one of my officers and we could walk the fence line and then put that in a report as well.
That would be fine.
All right, please do it through through Kyle or his designated person. Andrew?
Rick, I would say just that I think it sounds like it's technically, possible for Gordon Meadows to complete the fence before our next meeting. And so we can confirm that fact as you've outlined, Gordon, and we can close the hearing at that point. However, if there is an ongoing dogs jumping the fence issue, we may have to reopen the hearing if that's a future problem. So I'm just flagging that,
If the fence proves itself to be insufficient, I will build a bigger fence. I promise you. My intention is not to try to bother my neighbors at all. I hope that the current fence that I'm constructing will do that. It's the same as Mr. Van Fleet built on the other side.
Okay.
Great.
Do we have a motion to continue?
So moved.
Seconded. Been moved and seconded to continue this hearing to the next meeting of the Select Board, which I believe is December 2nd. Moved and seconded. Andrew?
Aye.
And I am I. Thank you very much for your presentation of the information. I hope it can end up with everybody with a smile on their face. And I see one from Jenna, so that's a heck of a start.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, guys. All right. And Kyle, whoops, I think we lost him. I was just going to thank Kyle for his. All right. I think we're on to new business. Item A, Community Action Pioneer Valley future funding. We do have a letter in the packet from Community Action. This was new to me as only in a year and a half into this position as a select board member. In a nutshell, as I understand it, the grant that we've applied for as a town allowed a portion of that money to go to a service, which we assign to the food pantry. The grant itself is for a project of the town. And we don't have a project pending, and therefore we're not planning to apply for that grant, which means we wouldn't have the option of taking a portion of it to kick over to support the food pantry that's run out of the Keller Gym. I think it's called Community Action Pioneer Valley West County Emergency Food Pantry. Did I get that right, Terry?
Yes.
Andrew, any comments?
Just a couple of questions. Terry, remind me what the annual amount of funding we have put towards the food pantry in past years.
Well, for the most part, Buckland and Shelburne have contributed 50,000 annually to the food pantry.
Each or together?
Yes. Well, in 22-23, Buckland put in 50, Shelburne put in 50. Prior years, Shelburne has put in 25,000. There was a matrix in your packet over the last 10 plus years that have showed our contributions.
Okay.
And Buckland,
sorry, go ahead, Rick.
Mention, Andrew, that I think Buckland is also not able to or not contributing to the pantry this year as well. So they feel in jeopardy that they may need to close it. And service.
So my second question, Terry, is I know we've had block grants for continuously for many, many years. So this is kind of a reaching possibly the end of the line, possibly a pause. You know, our demographics have been changing that have made us, you know, maybe less competitive than we used to be in terms of receiving block grants and in the village area. But I guess my question for you, Terry, is do you know of other communities that have dealt with this issue, and if there are other funding sources besides town appropriations that we might be looking towards? Or I'm just brainstorming here and of other possible solutions for how to continue this service.
The Community Development Block Grant Program is the only one that I'm aware of that funds social service components along with infrastructure. I will reach out to Linda Overing to see if she's aware of any other grant-funded opportunities for the food pantry, but at this time, I'm not aware of any.
And when is their funding expiring? What is the timeline for the current funding stream?
Right now, we still have a project at the Highland Village, the renovation of the kitchens. So their funding, well, their funding contract ends June 30th of 2025.
I'm wondering if I mean, one step certainly would be to talk with Linda about any other funding sources. And then the other step would be I would recommend to have a conversation with Buckland and say, is there a strategy we want to pursue jointly here? You know, does that make sense to you, Rick or Terry?
Yeah, I mean, no one would like to see it close, obviously. The letter we received from Community Action Pioneer Valley says that the current contract does end June 30th of 2025. It says that funding from both communities totaled 50. But you said we did 50 and Buckland did 50?
According to the breakdown that Linda provided in 22-23, she had both Shelburne and Buckland contributing 50,000.
Apparently, just recently, it's not been that though.
No, this was only a 1 year.
Okay, so it looks like closer to 50 combined is what's currently happening, and that will stay until June of 2025, correct?
Yes.
Okay. They say that's 15% of their budget. They're obviously looking at their finances as well. And worst case scenario, if they did have to close, if funding wasn't found, they can continue to service the West County people out of their Greenfield location. However, that's perhaps more of a strain on people in West County who need this support anyway. So I think let's wait and see what we hear from Linda and see if anything pops up as far as an opportunity between now and then to help them. And in the absence of that, reach out to Buckland and see if we can figure something out. But right now, I don't know what we can do other than say, darn, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I think those are the two steps I would recommend for information gathering.
Okay.
Very good. New business item C, the MEMA mitigation grant, statement of interest for Allenbrook, Coleraine, Shelburne Road. Tricia was going to present this, as you know, unable to attend this evening. We got a very comprehensive overview, a couple pages. I reviewed it. It all was coherent, made sense to me. I didn't find anything struck me as wrong factually or like Andrew. Did you have any comments on what was prepared?
No, I think your recommendation to wait until Tricia can go into more detail is a good one.
I think we should do that as well. Tom, it's only 2 weeks away. I assume that there is no deadline. I did read this a couple times and looked at emails looking for a deadline to make this application. Is there one that comes into play if we don't act on this until December 2nd?
There's no deadline that I'm aware of at this point. December 2nd, I would think would be fine.
I think we should, I mean, this is Tricia's world, so I think we should wait and hear any further input on top of this report that she supplied at our next meeting and take it up then.
Roger
And
that.
just in terms of it being Tricia's world, Terry, if this goes forward and we apply for a $500,000 grant, is that something Tricia's going to write or somebody else is going to write that?
I think she's working with Weston and Sampson, but I'm not 100% sure. But she's taken on the lion's share of this.
Yeah, no, I was just curious how the implementation was envisioned.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll find out more next time, I guess.
Did you have an answer for that question, Tom?
The only thing I know of right now is that she's working on the statement of interest. And once we get some once that's submitted and we get feedback from MEMA, they'll give us a better indication of how to pursue from there.
Okay, so it's a statement of interest.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's sort of a typical, in the private foundational world, they have a similar model where you write like a one-pager at the beginning, and if you get the green light on that, then you go forward and you write a more detailed application. So,
Well, that's all this is an expression of interest that we're interested in applying, and she's looking for feedback from the funding agency. We're not committing to anything at this point.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Well, then do you have any problem just getting it behind us? It's a statement of interest. We don't have to accept it later. I'm
I
asking.
mean, would that be helpful for us to just make a motion to approve having Tricia and Tom go forward with the statement of interest?
Would make
I
sense.
think it would be prudent to do so.
Well, I'm happy to make that motion.
Consider it so moved.
Okay.
Then I will second. We'll bring the matter to a vote if there's no discussion, no further discussion. Okay, Andrew?
Aye.
And I am I to approve the submission of the statement of interest. Got it done.
Roger that. Thank you very much.
Like
Alrighty.
now, better than later for sure, if it's possible.
Hoorah.
Thanks, Tom.
Take care now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Community Preservation Act applications for affordable housing development, Andrew. We have one of the two in the packet that you had previously approved, preparing and received an email prior to this evening's meeting with the letters of support. You have the floor.
Yeah, I also CC'd you on sending Terry, I think Sunday night, the second application, so that exists electronically but not in your packet. Um, and you should have that email as well.
Wow. I'm pretty diligent on that, but I don't. Sunday night,
Yep.
I saw a beginning of it at the select board's office. And
Well, Terry has printed out both of them, and so they're both there in the
right,
in the in
only one was almost complete and the other wasn't. But yes, I didn't see the email. I'm sorry about that.
oh, that's okay.
Um,
I was a little last minute on getting it done before the deadline, but this is the follow-up to September when we submitted a pre-application on these two proposals, one being to apply for $50,000 to the CPA committee to demolish the barn at 49 Mechanic Street, and the second one being to apply for up to $10,000 in pre-development permitting work on 49 Mechanic Street and on 375 and 379 Main Street, to prepare the three lots to render them in buildable condition so that they could be donated to uh, groups to develop affordable housing on them. That's the proposal in a nutshell, or the two proposals. And so those two proposals have been drafted. Terry and Angel have produced the maps and proof that the town owns the properties, which we're using as attachments. And I have sent along two letters of support um, from entities that could both steward the land and develop affordable housing on it.
and I did see the maps as well when I was at the select board's office. So the deadline to submit these is tomorrow. You may recall at the previous meeting, I think it was in September, that I voted against proceeding just because I was uncomfortable with throwing more town tax money at the black hole and then turn around and give it away. But in Tricia's absence, I don't want to stall this or prevent you from proceeding to put it before the Community Preservation Committee. So I'm prepared to support this as well if there should be a motion.
Terry, do you have a recommendation on how a motion gets made, since I wrote the draft and Rick is the chair?
I would say that Rick presents the motion.
Okay.
Then I would move that the select board support the submission of the two applications to the Shelburne Community Preservation Committee as drafted.
Great. And I will second with disclosure that I wrote the two drafts on behalf of the select board. Following the vote of the September meeting where we went forward with a pre-application.
And so moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Great. And I would just say, and thank you, Rick, for being gracious about allowing the process to move forward. there are still two steps remaining, one being the review by the Community Preservation Committee, which has to decide whether they're going to recommend it. Either or both of these proposals, either fully funded or partially funded. And then depending on the actions that they take, then we would need to decide if they got fully or partially recommended, whether to place them on the warrant for the voters to vote on. So, I think one of the questions they ask in the application is, what will you do if they partially fund it? And my answer was, well, the select board will have to consider that and decide whether there's enough money there to make sense to move forward with. So it's not a done deal yet, and there are still steps in the process.
Great. Well, we're here to serve the best interests of the town and the people in general, and it's the right thing to do. So that was not a hard decision at all. So it's been moved and seconded. We've had our discussion. We'll put the matter to a vote. Andrew?
Aye.
And I am aye. The motion passes unanimously. Good work. That's a whole bunch of stuff, Andrew. That's a heck of a task you took upon.
Oh, sure.
Rick, will you be able to come in tomorrow to sign?
Absolutely.
All right, and Will Flanders will pick up the applications tomorrow afternoon before I leave.
Yep. I think their meeting is 4:00.
And Terry, you got the letters that I sent?
If you sent them after 3:30, they're still in my inbox.
Okay, yeah, I did. I sent them about an hour before this meeting, and
All right, I'll add them to the packets.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will come up and to sign that to make sure Will can get it before their meeting at 4:00.
All right, thank you.
Okay. New business item C, Kate Chadwick, Moonlight Magic, request to use Memorial Hall meeting room. This is for Friday, November 29th. The Memorial Hall Association has agreed to serve as a venue from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. There'll be performance schedule, Mohawk Music Jazz Band, Mohawk Music Chorus, and a welcome mule. That's all between 4:15 and 8 p.m. The request for use of the meeting room is from 3 to 3:15 p.m. for one of the performers that will be performing that evening, who is also going to do, it sounds like, random performances throughout town before that happens. So they're looking for a 15-minute use of that hall on Friday. The town clerk doesn't work Fridays. The town admin is not in the building on Fridays, and the treasurer leaves at noon. Is there a problem with this request, Terry, that you can see?
Not that I can see.
Andrew?
Oh, that's basically, the singers just want to warm up in that space. Is that the idea?
That's what it says.
Yeah, I don't have any objection to that.
We don't need a vote. We can just say it has our blessing. Or do we need a vote? It has our blessing, right?
Excuse me, Tom Massa here. I'm going to be the hall manager for that evening. Yes, it is for vocal warm-ups. It is not from 3 to 3:15. It'll be from 3:15 till 4. I'm not sure if that's a mistake in paperwork that you received.
I'm so sorry. I was one paragraph where I was reading about the performers, and you're right. The next paragraph down, my bad. 3:15 to 4, 45 minutes.
All right. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the catch.
Well, Tom, I'm glad you are shepherding this process through, and I'm sure you will keep the building in safe and in good condition.
As usual.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll hold you to it. Terrific. Any other new business? Next scheduled meeting of the Select Board, December 2nd. Is there any other business that we need to deal with that happened after the deadline for drafting the agenda?
No.
Andrew, you're aware of any? None.
No, the only other thing I would just add, you might have seen, Rick, some good news that for the Sea Community Preservation Committee received the full 100% match this year.
Did hear that, yes.
Yeah, so that was nice to hear.
That is.
Yeah.
Correspondence, Mass Department of Revenue, free cash certification, $353,986. It's simply a confirmation of certification, as I understand it, not asking us to do anything. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So noted. BSC Playground Improvement Subcommittee, request for support and endorsement of the project. We have the letter of request from Flannery Murphy Geyer, I believe is how it's pronounced, looking for select board's support of the reconstruction, actually start over from scratch and build a new playground at BSE. My initial concern with this is if we, as a select board, vote to support this, other than being, we have a problem with it, it would be an official standing they would present to the CPC as one of their grant requests. Is what it's asking for, our support to be included in applications. So I'd be concerned that the select board would pick one of the projects of many, and we don't know how many until tomorrow are going to get submitted by the deadline, that we would support any one over any of the others that are being sent. So that's my initial observation and concern.
I guess the question I have about it is also one of jurisdiction. If this is a playground taking place, being built on school property, do we have anything to say about that at all?
My understanding is we have nothing to say about it.
Okay.
Whether it happens or not, it's simply a request of the select board to support their application for grants to fund the project. And that's something that I think is
Well, I think there's some project proponents here, Rick. I don't know if you want to query them directly or not. You're the chair.
I will, we have Haley Gilmore, who has standing in this. Neither of the names I see here are on the letter requesting this.
Hi there, Chairperson. My name is Haley Gilmore. I'm the principal at Buckland Shelburne Elementary. Flannery couldn't be here this evening and asked me to come just to sort of share what we were thinking and why we wanted to bring it to your attention. Really, we just wanted the select board to know that we were moving through the process of trying to get funding from the grant as well as from other sources. We've got a fundraiser happening next month and a couple of other things. So we just didn't want it to be a surprise that we are trying to replace the ancient playground equipment at BSC.
Great.
Well, I think it's a work project for sure. Aging has probably been there since day one.
Well, there was a neighbor that came over when we were talking about something else on the property, and he said that he remembered helping install the playground about 30 years ago, because he did the math while we were standing there. He goes, well, my son's 39, and he would have.
Well,
so
I personally consider it a worthy project, but I'm afraid I can't support an official
one project over the other from the CPA standpoint.
Right.
Well, the CPA is kind of new for us, and it sort of falls in a murky area, because if you were making a capital request to Shelburne and Buckland for this money, then yes, this would be in our jurisdiction and we would have something to say about it.
Yeah.
But because you're doing private fundraising and then you're applying to the CPA, which is partially town money, but as Rick mentioned, is also kind of really in the purview. We have delegated the review of those projects to the Community Preservation Committee, and we as a select board are applying to that committee for some projects. It feels like I agree with Rick. I think that belongs really in their bailiwick to, to
Completely
adjudicate. And
understood.
yeah,
The politics of it all is very interesting. My hope is that we don't have to make a capital request to the towns because we know that overrides and things don't make town people happy. So we're trying some other avenues and trying to get all of the pieces together so that we can make it happen without having to do that.
great. Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention. And I agree with Rick. It sounds like a great project.
We're just since Tucker put his plug in for his fundraiser next month, I think I should do the same on Saturday. Say that again?
I say fire away. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Saturday, December 7th, we're going to have a winter tag sale at BSC. We've done it a few years now. Typically, it funds the Nature's Classroom field trip, but Oktoberfest fully funded the rest of the field trip for 6th grade. So we decided to transition that fundraiser to be for playground equipment. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that we will be having our winter tag sale that we've had in previous years and just using the funds towards playground instead of Nature's Classroom.
Terrific. Thank you so
Great.
much.
And Haley, my comment to you is the same one I made to Tucker, which is that if the two-town news is not on your mailing lists, your media list, then it should be. And you
Yes.
should try to squeeze in under our deadline there, and you can reach our readers with your news.
Is there any chance you could put that in the chat for me? As you can probably tell,
Sure.
I'm in my vehicle, and what I can do is take the email address and pop it right into my my email account, and then just send them the flyer for the event, which I think would be helpful.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There it is.
Thank you very much. Thanks for seeing me this evening, and we'll hope to talk soon. Good luck with your application as well.
Good luck with
Great.
yours. Public comment. We have 2 people on. Oh, Tom already spoke. Any other public comment this evening? Hearing none, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Hi,
Oh.
I'm Maya. I'm here as a Shelburne resident, Maya Winfrey on Main Street, and I just wanted to speak in following Haley, just in support of this CPA grant for the playground. And we understand that part of this process involves getting letters of support, and it seemed like having the select board let the CPA know that this was a project that they approved of and were supportive of would be useful. And so I just wanted to let you know that it seems like a great project for the school and the children there, and also community members. And it will be a great thing to be able to increase the accessibility of the playground and the safety of it. And so I just wanted to weigh in on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment? Hearing none this time, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And seconded. All in favor, Andrew? Aye. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good job tonight. Thank you all.
See you soon. Thank you, Rick.
Good night.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, good night.